Okay, and it looks like we should be good. Okay, great. Well, thank you again for the opportunity to chat with you a little bit this morning. So Donna first reached out and talked to me about what I could discuss around health and wellness related to working from home and sort of how to find wellness in the home. And by nature of my role and what I do during this health crisis, I haven't really had the opportunity to work from home. I've been here at the hospital, but I do have, or I have had the opportunity to do a lot of reflection on how to bring my best self to work each day, how to ensure that I am staying healthy and well in order to be here for our patients, for my team, and for the community here. So I thought I'd just take a couple minutes and talk through that with you all. Okay, so the first thing, and Beth was actually just mentioning this, Beth Winkler earlier on our call here, but this is one of my favorite books, and it's called Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. Hopefully we have some Brene Brown fans out there. But one of the things that her teachings really taught me is how important it is to bring your authentic self to work each day. And I was fortunate enough to have the opportunity to train with Brene Brown in this Dare to Lead training. I spent 3 days with her in March of 2019, and I never realized just how pertinent and valuable that time would become, especially as we went into this, the global pandemic and every other challenge that 2020 has brought us. But what I truly learned is that, the human I am at work is the human that I am. And there is great strength and power in that. And so I think making sure that I am the type of person that I want to be at work means I need to be the type of person, everywhere. And so I've spent a lot of time on just working on me and being my authentic self and being true to who I am, and bringing that into my workplace each day. So a few leadership reflections and personal reflections in terms of how, I've led through this crisis, but also learned through this crisis. The first thing I will say that I've learned, but I also encourage others, is the importance of courage. And, one of my favorite quotes is, courage is not the absence of fear, but the ability to act in the presence of fear. And so one of the things that I say to myself and I say to my team all the time is we can do hard things. And so making sure that you wake up each day and just have courage in yourself and your abilities to be able to move forward and do the hard things. The next I would say is be optimistic. I truly am hopeful about where we can see the future, and I choose to believe that things will get better. And I think it's important that my team sees that and people around me. I think people react to their environment, and if I were walking around with my head hung low each day, I think people would start to feel the same. But I need to give my team and others confidence that we can get through this and we can become stronger because of it. The next is to act. It's somewhat easy to sort of sit passively on the sidelines during a lot of challenges, or even, I would say, even actively in the cheap seats. But I think the importance of being able to move forward, no matter how slowly, no matter how many times you have to pivot and say, oop, not the right path, let's go this way, I think it's just extremely important. And so focus on what you can control, don't worry about what you can't, and move forward in the areas that you can and that you can make an impact. Next is, this is another phrase of mine lately, is calm is contagious. And so, regardless of what life is throwing at us right now, finding a sense of calm in yourself is really important in terms of how the audience and others perceive that. So if I were to run around all day like a chicken with my head cut off, as my dad would like to say, that doesn't exactly inspire people that things are under control and things are, and that we can handle this. So I've used that calm is contagious phrase a lot recently, especially even Sunday night when I had a call with my team about what we thought was going to be the impending hurricane. And so I would just encourage everyone to take a deep breath and find a sense of calm in yourself. Then to be present. This is really, being seen and showing up really matters, and that is both physically and emotionally. And so I would encourage you, even those of you that are spending a lot of time working from home and are doing this all day long, the Zooming, there's a difference between someone who is present in the Zoom versus someone who is clearly going through the motions, distracted, multitasking, and all that. And so I would just challenge you to really think about how to be present. And if you get to the point where you can't be present, think about, is there a different way to do this? You know, maybe 8 hours straight of Zoom doesn't allow you to be present the whole time. So how can you think about different ways to find breaks to bring your whole self to that meeting each and every time? And then the last I would say is compassion. It is a difficult world right now, and we're all fighting different battles of different kinds. And so I would just ask that we all find a way to have empathy for one another. There is no such thing as comparative suffering, or there shouldn't be such a thing as comparative suffering. You know, everyone has their own struggles. No one struggles. No one gets to say my struggles are worse than yours, or I got you beat because this is, these are all the bad things in my life right now. We can all struggle, and that's okay, but to show the support and be there for one another is extremely important. So how I'm able to focus on all of that, and all of that, by the way, is a journey. I have not perfected all of that. I have my good days and my bad days, but is to really practice self-care. And so you can see the image there I use is the airplane oxygen analogy. You have to take care of yourself first before you can take others. And so for me, it was extremely important during this healthcare crisis that I found a way to take good care of myself. And for me, that means daily exercise, a healthy diet. Practicing gratitudes is extremely important to me. I keep a photo journal, and I've been doing that for about 5 years now, where every day I take a picture of something from that day. Some days are much more exciting than others if you were to look at my journal. But the point is to pause and reflect and say, this is a day I'll never get back. And what am I thankful for? What do I want to remember about this day? And the last bullet I'll highlight there too is just a reminder that practice makes everything better. I have yet to have anyone give me an example of a time when practice didn't make something better or easier. And so I would encourage you that the more that we show up for tough conversations, the more that we exercise, the more that we do hard things, it gets easier each time. And so not to shy away from it, but to jump into it and know that the next time will be a little easier than the first, the third will be a little easier than the second, and to have the courage to move forward. So my key takeaways, be courageous, know that you can do hard things, be kind to one another. If you know me, you know that is a constant of how I try and live my life, but just to be kind to one another. We're all in this together. Be present, be a person of action, be authentic, be your true self. You are the only one out there. Find the strength in that. There are, a lot of times I think we spend time trying to figure out what our challenges are, our opportunities are, and we should really focus on where our strengths are too and build upon those. And be hopeful. I've shared with you that I am hopeful for the future. I am hopeful that we will find good in all this craziness, and we will get through it together. And so lastly, just wanted to say thanks for this opportunity. Thanks for a chance to connect with you today. I truly feel blessed to be working here at Oxnard Health, to be a part of the chamber, to be here in New Orleans, and to do anything I can to continue to improve the health and wellness of this community, but also just the humanness, and that we can continue to connect as individuals and do a lot to help each other get through this. And so I will leave you with my favorite quote, as my team knows. Every day at the end of our huddle, I say, make it a great day, because I think every day is a choice. And so you can sit passively and see what happens, or you can choose to make it a great day. So make it a great day. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Beth. That was wonderful. I am going to now turn it over to Rochelle Kay with Crescent Payroll Solutions and Philip Carrillo with Crescent HR.
Sorry about that. We are on mute. Can everyone see our screen okay?
I think you're good.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Alex. So she said, I'm Rochelle. Hey, I am a senior sales consultant with Crescent Payroll Solutions. I have with me today Philip Carrillo, who is our HR advisor with Crescent HR. And we've been given the privilege to just speak with you on how to engage your remote employees in their health and wellness program. So one thing that we know, that some of you are returning to work, but there's a lot of y'all that are still working remotely. One thing that's been very consistent in feedback from employees and business owners is how hard it is to engage those remote employees and how they're losing their normal sense of routine, whether that be, from coming to work or just being at home and not being able, not getting up normally like they would be when they're sitting at their desk at home. So we were going to give you some tips and tricks of the trade on how to really engage those employees remotely, using technology as a tool as well. Philip is going to speak to the HR compliance of these things to make sure that we're all staying in compliance as well. So starting with creating personal connections. So not working, give me 1 second. Okay, so creating personal connections. One of the first things I think is really important is surveying your employees. You need to find out what is going to make your employee be engaged in their health and wellness program. What works for them. And to do that, I think it's really easy to send out a Survey Monkey or even create a Google Doc. It creates an unbiased opinion that you can collect from your employees to put together a program that is going to work for those remote employees. One other thing that I think is really important is an accountability partner. I know for myself, I am more apt to succeed when I have someone that is pushing me to stay accountable to my health and wellness goals. What would you say on those things?
Sure. So with any initiative, especially in HR, I always think about, well, how effective is this going to be? And the best way to ensure effectiveness is to know that you are creating meaning in this initiative. And so to do that, make sure that it's something that the employees want. So figure out what the employees' goals are through your survey. That's the main goal, the main objective in survey and surveying employees is understanding what it is that they're thinking, where they want to go, and how it aligns with your organizational mission, vision, and values. And as far as these two relationships between the accountability partner and then the one-on-ones, think of those as an accountability partner is probably somebody a little bit more lateral. It's a more comfortable relationship. A one-on-one is a little bit more vertical. And so maybe an indirect supervisor or supervisor, maybe even someone as high up as a director might be handling some of those one-on-ones. And what that does is, again, it brings meaning. It's a personal touch. And it also helps to align the actions and tactics of that employee with those of the overall, those things that are going to accomplish the missions and the vision of the organization.
Yeah, great point, Philip. One thing also is creating committees. From creating your own health and wellness committee to community outreach. Those are some things that we put into place here at Crescent Payroll Solutions that I think really gives meaning and really brings that personal connection for employees to the business.
Absolutely. You always think about an initiative as, oh, great, there's another initiative coming down the pipeline, something else I've got to write a report on. Well, a committee gives you the opportunity to get feedback on what is going to be effective. And not only that, it gives you the opportunity to hand select strategically some of those people who are going to create buy-in, those champions of whatever this initiative is or this goal is.
Yeah, absolutely. So moving on, health and wellness without walls. These are just some ideas that you can encourage employees to do while not in the workplace. So things as simple as fitness trackers. I think that most of us have a Fitbit or an Apple Watch that we can track our fitness, but maybe think of putting out and giving all your employees, a Fitbit and putting together a contest, whether that be steps per day remotely or workouts. Or even reimbursing gym memberships. Another thing is, contests and contests. So back on those Fitbit contests, maybe a healthy eating contest or a water drinking contest, or, did at 10 o'clock, we're all going to get up and do 50 air squats and keep track of those and promote with some type of a reward at the end of the month or something.
Yeah. So I always think, especially in HR, you need to think about whatever your policies are in place. If you're going to do some sort of wellness event where you're gathering employees, whether it's indoors or outdoors, remember those policies, particularly those related to COVID-19 mitigation, and think about exposure in the organization. If you're going to encourage employees to gather, remember some of the things that are keeping them safe: masks, distancing, and so forth, and encourage that those policies are adhered to in whatever these initiatives are. And the other thing about fitness trackers, when it comes to implementation, always think it through. Don't just give people a fitness tracker. Think it through and give them a way to coalesce with their progress in this initiative, so that there's a sense of accomplishment.
Great point. So now, at the end of the day, we want to be able to connect with our employees. And really, technology is the way to do that remotely. So some things that I thought, Zoom, obviously, we're all in Zoom right now. It's become a normal thing. So I think that's really important when it comes to those one-on-ones and those accountability meetings, to put your face-to-face, or even a private Facebook group, to get everyone from the organization in a private Facebook group, posting recipes, posting, healthy food that they ate, or even, a workout that they really enjoyed.
Yeah. So again, my little spidey sense goes off a little bit when I think about Facebook, because it's a huge area of exposure and liability for organizations. But just remind your employees of what your existing policies are. You've got anti-bullying, you've got anti-hostility in the workplace, you've got a user acceptance, you've got, I could go down the line of all the things that are relative or relevant in this situation that help remind people how they should properly interact. Facebook is such a charged zone these days. And so encourage people maybe to change the product. Maybe it's no longer about how great I look in my workout clothes every day. Maybe shift that policy or that product over to how great was the view in front of me when I went on my hike this morning, or how great was the meal that I ate. Take the pictures of the meals so that you're avoiding some of those potentially uncomfortable or even high risk kinds of interactions with employees.
Yeah, so another way to counteract that is with your HCM technology. So human capital management technology has come a long way in the last couple of years. It now has gone to where you're just, running payroll and keeping time, to being able to push out recipes to employees and push out events to employees. And even some systems have the ability to where it's Facebook for your basically workplace Facebook. So that's a way to kind of keep out that compliance aspect of that, and give employees this engagement of, remotely as well.
Absolutely. There's so many tools that you're already paying for, I bet, that you don't even know. A lot of the common interactive tools, Microsoft Teams, for example, would substitute well in this case. And then not only that, but you're thinking about, again, in HR, you're thinking about retaining some of that information that you may need. Say, if there's ever any risk down the road, you want to make sure that you own the information that's being exchanged in these company-sanctioned events. And then finally, if you're not paying for an HCM tool that has this interactive ability or mobile ability or ease of use, think about a Google Doc. I have it on my phone. I can very easily access it. It's live update. And so live, face-to-face, through Zoom or Teams or any of these others, these are all ways to create meaning and enhance the personal factor. And when you're thinking about, again, is this going to make any difference whatsoever? And of course, you want a happier workplace, and people who are working out are typically happier. And so thinking about what your end goal is and how to get there, technology can be a great tool to augment that implementation.
Yeah, so that's all we have for you. We hope we gave you some helpful tips and tricks on how to engage employees remotely. And I'll give it back to Alex. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Do you mind just unsharing your screen with us? That would be great. Thank you both so much for doing that. That was so informative and very helpful. So now we will turn it over to Jennifer. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jennifer Gilliatt, the owner of Heal From Within, which is a facility for holistic wellness. Today, I want to perform a grounding exercise with you. So if everybody could just take this time to try to get yourself relaxed and really engage in the activity, just to help ground yourself, feel more centered and present. So grounding is basically the transfer of Earth's electrons and your body together, and it's been proven through studies to improve health and stress. So we'll go ahead and get started. So if you want to go ahead and just relax your body wherever you are, get in a comfortable position. Close your eyes and make sure your feet are touching the floor. And then take a deep breath in to the count of 3. And exhale to the count of 3. And we're going to do this a couple more times. Take another deep breath in. And then exhale for a count of 3. And then one more time, slow deep breath in. And then exhale. Attention to your body, and just notice how your body feels. Notice how your body feels against the chair, what parts of your body are touching the chair. You can notice the texture of fabric of the ground of the chair. And just really pay attention to the feeling. And then push your feet into the ground. And then next, imagine that your energy is draining from the top of your head and just pouring down through your body, through your feet, and into the earth. And try to relax your muscles as you do. Just feel each part of your body relax, and then go further down. And once you get to your feet, just imagine that that energy is just flowing right into the earth. The opposite, imagine Earth's energy coming up. It almost feels like a vibration or a tingly sensation. Feel it coming up through your feet, into your ankles, gone up through your calves, knees, and thighs, torso, your arms and hands, and then your neck and head. And then you could slowly bring awareness back to your body and wiggle your fingers and toes. I want to thank everyone for participating and allowing me to share this with you. And I'll turn it back over to Alex.
Thank you. That was wonderful. And then finally, Beth Winkler with Magnolia Physical Therapy. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Let me get to my screen here. Okay. There we go. Okay. So hey everyone, thank you for having me, and thank you so much, Jennifer, for that grounding exercise. That's going to help us into the next part, which is a little more cerebral, but I wanted to talk about posture and how important it is, especially now that we're working from home. So my name is Beth Winkler. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Magnolia Physical Therapy, and I've been a PT for about 25 years, so a really long time. And I do a lot of work with companies and helping them. We see patients in-house. We have 4 physical therapy clinics, but I also do a lot of work with companies to help their employees set up their desks properly and make sure that they're in good alignment. We come into companies and do free screenings, assessing their employees, and if we find any issues, we'll help them correct that. So when I was working from home remotely, I started noticing that I was having a lot of hip pain. And I'm sitting at my kitchen table, working on my little laptop, and I'm thinking, like, I should know better, right? So if I, with all of this experience, am sitting at this kitchen table, with not really the right proper setup, like I normally do at work, having hip pain, then I wonder how many other people are doing this. So I started talking to business owners and started doing these ergonomic workshops with companies to help them and their team members that are working from home to be able to set their desks up properly and make sure that they are in good alignment and good position. So that's what I'm going to share with you a little bit today, and a couple of little stretches that might help, and tips. You don't need a super fancy desk or equipment. Everyone asks me about the standing desks, and those are great. Anything you can do to change your position for frequent periods of time, like not sitting for 4 hours straight is, no good on the body. So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on what to do with that. So there's 3 ways that you can handle pain, right? So when we're sitting, if you're sitting in front of the computer and your shoulders are up into your ears, you can ignore it, which I know is a lot of people do. You can alter it, which is what I'm gonna teach you today. And then you can handle it. And that's if you're having any significant pain or issues, is doing exercises and doing some proactive things to get your body back in good alignment. So some of the common impaired postures, here we have the forward head posture, which is one of the most common ones. And when we're sitting at a desk, and if we have our laptop, I'm going to bring this down just a little bit so you can see. If our laptop is on the table like this, our head is sitting forward and our shoulders are kind of like this, and we're kind of in this flexed position. And that is no bueno no good for your neck and your shoulders. So you want to make sure that you're in a nice, good position. So I'll kind of go over some of this setup a little bit later. But the forward head, what that does is it puts you in this position. All these muscles in the base of your spine get tight, and that can cause a lot of headaches and pain, which can lead to dizziness, blurred vision. It can also lead to TMJ, which is jaw pain. If you kind of play with me a little bit, if you slump and bite down, and then you sit up with nice good posture and bite down, you'll notice you'll feel a different bite. So if you're sitting at the kitchen table, even if you see your kids doing it and they're like sitting like this, eating their food, that's putting the abnormal alignment on their jaws. So make sure that, being in alignment is really, really important. Flattened back posture, where you're not getting good curvature of your lumbar curve. So the way that the spine is set up is it's like an S curve. So the neck is what we call the cervical lordosis, and the thoracic spine, which is the middle part here, is the thoracic kyphosis. So that curves like this. And that's all to help absorb weight and the shock through the spine. And those are all really important curves. So if we don't maintain those curves, if they get flattened or, we're sitting kind of a lean back slump posture for a long period of time, it puts a tremendous amount of stress on our discs and the joints in our spine. So, sitting is the new smoking. A lot of our jobs now are requiring sitting, especially when we're working remotely. The average American sits for an average of 7 hours a day, which is a lot, right? So this is 55% of our waking hours. So combine this with sleeping, and that's a whopping 15 hours of sedentary activity a day, which is a lot. And we don't have, I can't see everybody, but curious, wondering how many people have gained weight since the quarantine. So what's happening too is that we're not getting up and moving around. I'm not going to the water cooler. My kitchen is literally 5 feet away. I'm at work today, but at the clinic, but and the bathroom is 10 feet away. Whereas if I'm at work, I go, and a lot of times I'll visit people in their offices and say hi and go to the water cooler and go, actually leave my house and go to my car, park, and then walk into the clinic. So even though those seem like really small activities, there's a big difference, in just getting up and moving every now and then. They also found incredibly strong evidence that links poor posture and prolonged sitting to poor health. So If you have poor posture, you're at 112% increase, higher risk of diabetes, 145% higher risk for cardiovascular disease, and 47% more likely to suffer from depression. So that's pretty significant. Okay, so just some of the things prolonged poor posture can lead to: neck pain, headaches, jaw pain, pain in the arms, shoulder pain, carpal tunnel, impaired function of your breathing. So if you're slumped forward, you're not going to get the full expansion of your rib cage like you should. Low back pain. Again, we talked about the maintaining that lower back curvature, and then hip and lower leg pain. So what I want to review with you here is how you should be setting up your work desk. So whether you're working at home or at work, it's really important. You know, most of us have laptops now. Before, we would have these monitors that would be, you know, right in our vision where they should be. But working on a laptop really makes us into the, you know, get into this curved spine position. So if you look at this picture here and kind of my setup here, let me move this a little bit so you guys can see a little bit better. This is my laptop. And as you can see, so we're going to talk about the 490s. So 90 degrees, which means like a perfectly L shape. So 90 degrees at the elbows, 90 degrees at the hips, 90 degrees at the knees, and 90 degrees at the ankles. So if you guys can all kind of like take a little mental image of where you are now and kind of look at your workspace, and look at maybe one or two things that you could change to get you in this better position. I have, you know, this detachable keyboard that I put and I hook up to my laptop here, so that, of course, you want this higher to where the top third of your laptop is within your vision. So if it's any lower, you're looking forward, and if it's any higher, you're straining your neck. So you want to make sure that your head is sitting on top of your neck, kind of like a bowling ball. You know, you don't want it to be forward or back. You want it to just kind of rest and sit there. Then you want to make sure that you have a keyboard so that you're not up here, because that's putting your elbow at strain. So another thing that I like to do is have an extra mouse. This little mouse right here, I love. It's got like the little curvy ball here. Some people don't like it. It's kind of weird, but I like to get the movement of my thumb because I do a lot of manual therapy with my thumb, so I get issues there. Another thing that's important with the getting your elbows in good position is that if you're resting your hand on your laptop like this, I don't know if any of you suffer from numbness in the hand, that's going to compress the median nerve here, and that's going to cause pain and numbness into your hand. So it's really important to, when you're using your mouse, is to get, this is really old, but is to get something that gives your wrist support, so that when I'm using my mouse, my arm is rested here and it's not rested on the laptop, which is a hard surface, so you can compress that. So yeah, so just some other things is the 90-90-90-90 rule. You don't need any super fancy equipment. Here I have like a little laptop riser, but at home I have a bunch of coffee table books that are underneath my laptop. So again, nothing super fancy. I have 2 yoga blocks under my feet, because when I align my elbows and my hips up to look at my laptop properly, my feet aren't really on the floor the right way. So what I suggest is get your head and neck and like arms aligned first, and then adjust your feet as needed. Make sure your shoulders are relaxed. A lot of times when we're working at the computer, we'll get so involved in what we're doing and our shoulders start coming up to the ears. A lot of people tell me, you know, I try to have good posture and then 5 minutes back into that slump position again. So good posture is not just remembering to sit up straight, it's actually having the strength to sit up straight. So I really recommend having your core strong. So I know everyone's familiar with the beautiful plank exercise. That is one of my favorites because it really activates all of the muscles in the back by your shoulder blades and also your core. If you, so everyone do this, kind of slump forward like you're sitting poorly. And then what I want you to do without trying, except for pull your abdominal muscles in, like pull your belly button in towards your spine. And if you notice, you're gonna kind of feel your body's gonna automatically sit up a little bit straighter. So if your core is weak, you're gonna slump kind of at your waist. And when that is really strong, you're gonna automatically sit up a lot straighter. So having a strong core is key in maintaining good posture, because if you're already there, you don't have to remind yourself. Like, you know, they have those little posture things now that they sell that people put on their backs when they slump forward. But if you're strong already, you're not gonna have to worry about that at all. And then just make sure that your chin is tucked in, kind of a neutral position. You don't want to be slumped like this. And you don't want to be leaning back either. So I see people sometimes when I do these calls, they're in their lazy boy or on their couch, you know, with their computer like this, and all of a sudden, you know, they switch towards the end. But it's really important, like, not to work at the couch. Make sure that you're in good alignment, that your spine is in a nice erect posture. One last thing I want to show you on this this slide is the support of your lower back. So a lot of chairs are too long, like at home, and especially with this here too, I end up putting a pillow right behind me so that my lower back is supported. A lot of times it's hard to get this posture if you're sitting all the way back in your chair. Like if I sit all the way back in this chair, like my knees kind of hit, it's too long. So depending on how long your legs are from your hips to your knees will depend on how much support you need for your lower back. Okay, so that's positioning, right? But another thing is kind of what we talked about earlier with some of the other speakers is get moving. You know, sitting in one position or any position for a long period of time is just not good for anything. It ends up, the tissues get fatigued. There's a lack of blood flow going through. So you want to make sure that you're getting up and moving every 25 to 30 minutes. So not only is this really good for your body, you're giving different input into the brain. It's good for your mental capacity. So they've done a ton of studies, and there's this thing called the Pomodoro technique, which I don't know if any of you have heard of, but they talk about setting, when you're sitting down to do a long task, is to set a timer for 30 minutes and make sure that you're stopping to breaks. They find that people are a lot more productive the more breaks they take. So bosses, sorry about that, but think about it. You know, if you're sitting for 3 or 4 hours at a time, have you ever noticed, and you get up and you're like, oh, my back is stiff, my hips are stiff. You don't even realize that you're doing it. So I do recommend setting a timer. So that's not only for mental capacity, but also our physical capacity. And people who have pain, those of you who have pain or tightness when you're sitting for certain periods of time, like if I sit for longer than 45 minutes, my neck starts to tighten up a little bit. That's your body telling you something. That's like the little knock on the door that's saying, hey, if you continue this, you're going to do damage. So it's really important that we listen to our bodies, listen to when we're getting that little tap on the door, because otherwise they're just going to, your body's just, and brain and pain is just going to pummel you over at one day, and that's not going to be fun. So listen to those little subtle hints with your body. Incorporate stretching and exercises throughout the day. When you set your timer for 25, 30 minutes, do a grounding exercise. That didn't take long. It was like 5 minutes or whatever. Do a 10-minute meditation. Get in a different position, lie on your back with your feet up. Go for a walk. So what I wanted to just show you is just a couple of quick stretches that you can do when you have these 25, 30 minute, these little breaks in between. And the break doesn't have to be long. It can be a minute, it can be 5 minutes. Go get a cup of coffee. Don't go to the kitchen, which is what I was doing, which is why I was gaining weight. I would just like every time my timer went off, I would go to the kitchen and get something to eat. So I stopped doing that. So one of the good stretches is to work on stretching the upper traps, which is this muscle here. When we tend to be a lot in front of our computer, that muscle gets really overworked. So we want to be able to stretch that as well as strengthen the muscle that opposes that action in the back. So one of the stretches is you just bring your ear to the opposite shoulder and then take your hand and give a nice little pull there. And you want to do this as long as it's not painful. Make sure you're looking straight ahead, that you're not kind of tilted this way or that. And I used to give people the instruction to count to 10, but now I give them a breathing, like, so, okay, take 5 deep breaths. So it allows us to really incorporate the rib cage and also work on getting that parasympathetic nervous system kicked in by deep breathing. And then you go ahead and switch to the other side. And if you notice if you breathe in deep and then you breathe out and relax, you get a little bit more of a stretch, because when you breathe in, the rib cage does this, and when you breathe out, it kind of comes back down. So you'll get a little bit more of a stretch. One of the other ones that I really like to do, I'm going to give a little bit more space here so you can see, is I like to squeeze the shoulder blades. So it's working on those shoulder blade muscles, the muscles that oppose this action, to kind of get that stronger, because the stronger that is, the less this will happen. So what you want to do here is you want to squeeze the shoulders down and back and kind of open your arms in this direction. And then just hold that for about 5 breaths. And then release. So you can see this is opening the chest. So if your chest muscles get really tight from slumping and sitting all day, this is a nice opening exercise, and it also helps strengthen the muscles in the back. So those are 2 really good ones to do when you're taking your little breaks. If you have pain and it's getting worse, so this is where I recommend the action part. Tightness and tension are the first signs of postural dysfunction. So it's time to act and make change. If something has been bothering you for a certain period of time and it's getting worse, that is your central nervous system saying, like, knocking really hard on the door. It's important that you listen to that, because the longer you go with that misalignment, or the more joints that are going to get involved. Other areas are going to start compensating, and then it just takes so much longer to correct it. I tell my friends, if you come in and see me now for 2 to 3 visits, I can, if they're having a little bit of tightness or a little bit here, or at mile 3, their knee starts to hurt. It's like, let's fix this now. Let's fix the alignment and the issue now before other things start getting worse. So just to kind of switch a little bit I talked a lot about the prevention side of things, but if you're having pain and you do have postural dysfunction, as far as physical therapy goes, one of my missions is to educate people about what we do. I think people realize that physical therapy can be an asset, but maybe that, I'm not injured enough to be in physical therapy. So is it something affecting your life? Is your physical limitation affecting your life? And if the answer is yes, that's something that we can help with. So we do the stretching, which you guys can, so of course, do on your own if you have a little bit of tightness. But if you have pain, we do the hands-on manual therapy, a lot of unloading type of activities. If anyone on this call, I'm going to offer a free virtual screening. If anyone is interested in doing that, let me end the show here and I'll show you. If you go on our website, and then I'll take questions after that. If you request an appointment and put in your information and just put free virtual screening, we'll call you, and then I can take a closer look at your setup if you want me to look at that and give you recommendations, like free of charge. Or if you are a company and you would like your team to have this information, since they're all working from home, I can certainly do that for your company as well. So that's all I have. I'm happy to take questions too. I'm going to pass it back over to Alex. I'll stop my share too here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Beth. All right, let's jump into Q&A. So the first question we have is, any suggestions for shoulder and arm pain due to leaning to one side, parentheses, my left while writing on my right?
So let me read that again. For shoulder and arm pain due to leaning to one side. Oh, I see. Okay, writing on your right. I would so if you're having shoulder or arm pain, I would try to definitely do some of those stretches, like the opening stretch. If you're leaning to one side, kind of like this, is opening, do activities to open the other side. So if you're leaning to the right, then go ahead and start to do stretches, leaning over to the opposite side. And then without actually physically seeing how you're sitting, it's kind of hard to say, but I would just try to when you're sitting and writing is try to be as symmetrical as possible. I know sometimes that's really difficult to do, but if you can modify where your laptop is or where your paper is or anything like that, symmetry is king.
Thank you. Okay, we've got some more in the chat. Let's see. Philip said, loving this. I needed this posture training. The one on Brené's leadership and the grounding breath exercise. Can I get everyone's contact info? If you'd be willing to submit your contact info to the chat, you're all welcome to do that, and we greatly appreciate it. Any recommendations? He says, forearm to pinky and ring finger always in pain on my right side, radiates through my right shoulder blade. Any recommendations?
Yeah, so that is the ulnar nerve distribution, what you're saying through here and through the pinky. So I'd be really conscious about where your elbow is resting. A lot of times, not on this chair, but a lot of times the arms of these chairs are kind of high, and then your elbow is resting right on there. So that can compress the ulnar nerve, which kind of sits in this little groove right here. If you're having shoulder blade pain, it probably is something to do with this whole chain. Like I was talking about before, a lot of times joints surrounding the areas that are having the pain initially, the problem initially, start to compensate. So if I'm doing this and my body's not doing this, I might compensate with my left lower back to try to get more symmetrical. Now I'm not lowering the shoulder, but my left lower back is doing something to compensate for that. So you see, you start creating all of these misalignments. So definitely check your elbow first. Work on that opening exercise, because that can be fatigue from that shoulder muscle back there, trying to hold your shoulder blades back when you're fighting them slumping forward. But definitely look at the whole chain there.
Thank you. Matt Broussard said, when setting up my workspace at home, should my monitor be directly in front of me, or can I position it to my right or left?
Ideally, it should be right in front of you. If you have two or three, if you have two monitors, I suggest setting up right in the middle so you can kind of switch to right or left. If you can easily turn, so if my monitor's here and my workspace is here, if you can easily turn, as long as you're facing forward to the monitor that you're working on and you're facing it, you should be totally fine. But if I'm here and I'm working over here, that's just going to create asymmetry, definitely in my torso, shoulders, and probably your neck.
Sounds good. All right, Scott said, what is the best way to attain the correct screen height on a laptop?
Okay, so the top part of your screen should be right in the top third part of your screen should be right in front of your eyes. So this is actually a little bit low for me. This should be probably about right there. So whatever you need to do to create that, whether it's prop yourself, put it on a box or adjust your seat. It's easiest if you can adjust your work surface first and then work your chair around it. But I would definitely do that. You want to make sure that it's top 1/3 on the top of the screen.
Thank you. Thanks, Linda. Linda said, this has been a great session. Very good tips.
And I put my email, address in there, and I'll put the website information too. So if anybody's interested in doing a free screening, I'm happy to set that up. We've been doing a lot of those virtually, which has been going over pretty well. If you want me to take a little bit further look at your workspace or your body part.
Thank you. We can add that to the Summit library too.
Okay, cool.
Dominique said, thank you all for a great session today. Scott said, do you have any recommendations as far as places to find a laptop mount? just a little plug, if you're a chamber member for Office Depot, I got mine on Office Depot for $10 and it's awesome. I love it so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Office Depot
it has
for
like
sure.
this much height. But if you have another recommendation, by all means.
No, nothing in particular. One, if you can buy that has like, these little stackable things. So I can, depending on my work surface, I can add or take out. But seriously, like books or a box, if you're worried about how it looks, then get a laptop stand. But books or a box or, I have a couple of our therapists use a yoga block, are perfectly fine.
Very cool. Lynette said thank you to all of you as well. Let's see if we have any other questions. All right. We have a couple more minutes, so if anybody has any other questions, please feel free to submit them. And if not, then I guess we will call it a day, but I just can't thank you all enough for joining, sharing your expertise, taking time out of your very, very busy schedules to meet with us today and help us out. So just thank you. And when this ends and you see that survey, please fill it out. We greatly appreciate it. So thank you all and have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you tomorrow at noon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.